Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast YouTube channel. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host Miosha. And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight season 16, episode 3. We finally
hmm
got through the weddings. We made it. We survived.
You know what? I'm not even going to complain because last season, I feel like the first one or two episodes was 3 hours long.
The
So
first
I'm just
one,
the
yeah.
first one. Okay. I'm just glad to be at this point.
Yeah, I know. I know. And now they're gonna like next episode is probably gonna be all the night of, and then
hmm
we'll finally get to the honeymoon in February.
Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, before we get into this episode, please, guys, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Also, we have a brand new podcast episode coming out tomorrow, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. So make sure you support and check us out with that as well. All right. So we're going to start with Clint and Gina because I don't have a whole lot of notes on them.
Yeah. All I had was that I feel like Clint confirms even more that he's a bit self-absorbed and just kind of all focused on him when I don't know if they were talking about what they would do on the honeymoon or what, but
Yeah,
he was like, oh, but we have to be on a boat. We have to get a boat. And I'm like,
the
dude,
Bahamas. Yeah.
come
But
up with something else. Jeez.
I don't know if I was a little bit surprised, but Gina, and maybe it was the way they edited it, but she was all about work. And I know she's all about work in real life, but that was all she kept on talking about. Like he asked one question and then she talked about remodeling, building the team that she has. And it seemed like that was all that she talked about. I do think editing plays a role in it, of course, but I was surprised at that. I was like, dang, she's still going about her salon. Like you could tell that's her
I
life.
wasn't I wasn't surprised only
Mm,
because leading up into this point, she had been saying like I've been all about work.
mm,
She hasn't been in a relationship in 5 years. And so I wasn't surprised that she talked about it as much, especially since it sounds like when this was filmed, she was in the middle of I guess laying the foundation or the building, which is a
yeah,
huge
adding
undertaking. So
on.
yeah, so it seems like it was just top of mind. And yeah, it wasn't the best look, but I'm gonna hold my judgment only because I know how production can do. And maybe they just made it seem like it dragged on.
She
It,
did.
and it's like, okay, well, did he prompt her with more questions? Like, we don't know. So I'm gonna give our girl Gina the benefit of the doubt, but hopefully she can talk about more than just work.
I feel like she talked a little bit about traveling too, and that's when we
hmm
started talking about the whole like sailing on a different in a different country.
So one thing I wanted to bring up quickly was that we saw, I believe it was in our comment section where someone confirmed that Clint and Gina do live in the same building. She
Mm-hmm.
ran into production, I guess the day after they filmed with her.
Yeah.
And they said that, oh, they tried to play it off like, oh, we're back to film, some shots of the building. And then
Mm-hmm.
she asked the doorman, and he was like, oh, no, they're actually filming with some old guy, upstairs.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like she knew, even though she played it off well, she was like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel like I could have seen you in the elevator. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, you knew that they were filming someone in your building.
And that was one of her first questions to him. So where do you live? Like she didn't play it off that well. She was like, so yeah, your
Mm-mm.
name's Plants. Where do you live? High
And,
rise. What high rise?
and maybe she was confirming that it was her match and maybe
Mm-hmm.
not someone else's
Else's
match
match.
in the
I
building, which I guess could have been an option. But I'm like, okay, now Married at First Sight, stop playing in our faces. Why?
Yeah, it was sloppy.
It was very
Very
sloppy. And the
sloppy.
next day,
I know. Yeah. They said we got a tight schedule. We got to do this all in a week.
and then I also saw, I think it was on the after party. Was it last week, I believe? I don't always catch the after parties. I'll admit I watch recaps. But they were saying that Gina wasn't attracted to him. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, she played that off well, especially as big as she was smiling. Maybe that's just and I'm not saying that as shade, it's just out of all the people,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't seem like she didn't like what she saw.
Yeah, it wasn't obvious. She was what Kirsten tried to be, like very. not forward about it. But the only other thing that, okay, so Gina has this bridesmaid who I thought was hilarious because she was like in tears during the like speech. But yeah, I was like, why is she so emotional about Married at First Sight? Like maybe she's just an emotional person, but this is not a super emotional process. Like at least not at the beginning and not for a bridesmaid. Like I would expect if your person or your friend was marrying her person who she's been with for a long time, then you would do all the waterworks. Then you would do like the long speeches where you get choked up and you can't make it through. But because they had just met this man, I just found it really odd. And she was the same bridesmaid who later on was like all up in his face. She was like this close to this man's face, like, what makes you worthy of her? Like that's so I just thought that was really interesting. I'm like, she needs to chill out a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
her speech was touching, but kind of corny to me.
I wouldn't have said touching, but you're really nice for saying that. But
Yeah.
she clearly takes her job as the bridesmaid very seriously. And then the last thing that I have is Clint had some very prepackaged questions when they were like asking him, "Well, what makes you ready for marriage? What makes you this?" And he was just giving to me prepackaged answers, but it could be because he rose me the wrong way that I think that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at this point they've seen this show, and if you're marrying a stranger, you should come prepared. Where you're gonna be like, I mean, red flags right away. So I don't know. I feel like either way, if you go off the cuff, people still aren't going to trust what you say.
Yeah.
And if you have something planned, they're still not going to trust what you say.
Yeah, which I guess we'll get to that when we talk about Jasmine and Aerys. But
Yeah.
I'm ready to move on to the next person or next couple.
Hmm. Yep,
Okay.
that's it.
All right, let's do Nicole and Chris. Because they had a lot, but they didn't have like as much as maybe the people who got married this week. So yeah, what did you think about them this episode?
I love their energy. I feel like it's genuine. And every time they were on screen, I was excited to see them and it looked and felt natural. I
Mhm.
will say, the one thing that I feel like, I guess one of the concerns that Nicole was having was that she didn't want to get too excited. And I think all women, well, anybody who's like been in that phase of relationship can relate to that, where you're like everything is going almost too good that you're waiting for something bad to
Yeah.
happen. But I was just kept thinking, oh, I really want her to enjoy it, so soak it up, which I think she was. But yeah, they both seem very self-aware. They both
Mhm.
admit that they're talkers and that they're going to have to figure out how
Yeah.
that's going to work, which I think it can. You just have to find your cadence and
Yeah. Which
learn
they
each
seem to
other.
be invested in. Like they seem to be
Yeah.
like prepared to find their like equilibrium.
Yeah. What did you think about her calling out how nice he was?
I loved that. And let me tell you why. Because she wasn't calling it out as if it was a negative thing. She was calling it out as a thing where it's like, okay, based on these few hours that I've known my husband, I can see in the future where this could be an issue. And so the reason why I love that is because one, she's already thinking in the future, but she's not thinking in the future as in like, oh, how is he going to fail me? She's thinking in the future in the sense of he's going to do this. How
Mhm.
should I respond as a wife? How can I like cater to what his personality seems to be? And so
Mhm.
that's why I really love that she is looking for those types of things. Like to me, it communicates that she's looking for how she fits into his life and how he's going to fit into hers. And she's trying to figure out what life with him would look like, not just from him and how he treats her, but how she treats him too. So I was here
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, it looks like she's already willing and ready to do the work. It's
Yes.
almost like some people get married and they observe certain things and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like from the beginning, they don't even want to do anything. It's always like, well, what are you going to change about you?
You.
But I think it'll work out in her favor that he is the nice guy, even if she
Yeah.
has to make some adjustments. I think that that'll be good for her and their relationship. So
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's why, so when she was talking about in the past, she's been so optimistic that she hasn't left. I'm like, man, she's the perfect person for this process because that optimism is helpful in the beginning. And I just
mhm.
really hope like this is a space where she can be optimistic and see it actually work out. I put down that her intentions are so pure when it comes to this. And as a viewer, like I know, we make fun of the drama and all of that, but that's what you really want to see is people coming in with the pure intentions and trying to make this work. So I enjoy
Yeah.
watching Nicole and Chris so far.
Yeah, it's refreshing considering the what 0 for 5 out of the last 2 seasons. So
Yeah. It was a quote that she said that I wrote down because it just made my heart smile. But she said, I already know he's gonna spend the rest of his life trying to make me happy. And I want to do that for him too. I was like, oh, not them giving me hope for this season.
I know, right? But listen, we only on episode 3, so
I know.
whew.
Ooh, what did you think about the conversation with Chris and Nicole's dad? Because you never know how these family conversations are going to go. So, how do you
Yeah,
feel?
I liked it. I felt like the dad came in hot, but not too hot. Still
Yes.
respectful in that, okay, his family's probably feeling the same way. I don't really like when the families just come way too hard when it's like, okay, would you want, think about your child or your cousin or whatever who's also going to be on the receiving end
Yeah.
of what the other family is going to say. So, I appreciated how he had valid concerns, but he seemed respectful. And I liked how when he was like, all right, son, and he was like, okay, well, I don't know if I've earned the right to call you dad yet, but we're
Yeah.
working towards it. I thought that that was sweet. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I like her dad.
I do too. I think it was like very real. And he stressed like the importance of this and, what it meant to him that his daughter was doing this. But you could tell he wasn't trying to be mean at all.
Right.
He wasn't trying to be extra and ask certain questions because the producers put him up to, which I'm sure the producers did have something to do with them sitting down having a conversation.
Yeah.
But it just seemed very realistic, the conversation that they had. And he wasn't being too extra. So I loved
Yeah.
it.
I don't understand when the in-laws or the new family are like mean to the new person because it's like, well, you do want them to be a part of this family too. You want them to feel welcome. I understand you feeling concerned, but
Mhm.
it's also your family member who signed up for this crazy ass process.
Right. And I think this is the last thing I have on them, but Nicole said something like, once you start having sex, like you keep having it. And I'm like, that's a note that people from past seasons probably would have benefited from because it seemed
Mhm.
like out of emotion, that's just something that they did. And then when one person didn't want to continue, or they reached a place where they found out there's no compatibility here, it became an issue. So I like that. She, yeah, I really like Nicole. I mean, the girl can talk, but
Yeah.
I like her so far.
Well, apparently they both can, so we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The conversation at the dinner table seemed to go really great, though. Like
Hmm.
there wasn't like a beat, there wasn't awkwardness, and they seemed to both be enjoying it. You could tell by their body language; they were like leaned in a bit.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was here for it.
Yep.
Here for Nicole and Chris still, and this is also the episode where we do our predictions on. So, do you want to wait
Hmm.
till the end,
Yeah.
or okay? All
Yeah.
right. So, Kirsten and Shaq. Why are you
I'll
sighing?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I said, is Kirsten warming up a little bit? Like, was it just me? I didn't know if it was like the drinks were hitting at this stage or if she was actually warming up. But she
I
actually said, you think
I
it's the
wrote
drink?
it was the drinks. I wrote it down. Yeah, I could tell. I saw it in the eyes. They always had a drink in their hands. Yeah. For
Well,
her, it was the drinks. For him, he's
the
already
drink.
smitten. So
Well, she did. She was like, yeah, I'm tired too. Should we go take a nap? And then when the food came and they both were like, I don't want to eat that at the same time. I thought that was a very cute moment.
mhm.
I want the best for Kirsten. Um, I think she's taking some time to warm up, and I really, really hope that she does. First episode, she was definitely not my favorite. But I think because she's paired with Shaq, I really want to like her because I really like Shaq.
Mhm.
So yeah, but she was laughing at all his little jokes. Uh, I don't know. I thought she was warming up at least a little bit.
I think that she is warming up. I think
Mhm.
the alcohol helped. I
Okay.
think his personality and their vibe, I think, as the friends mentioned later on, I think that they would be good friends. So I don't know. I got warming up,
Hmm.
but I don't know if I got warming up in a romantic way, just because of also how adamant she was about not even doing a peck on the cheek or anything. You know, like when they clink the glasses or whatever. Um, she still was not here for that. And he caught on. He's like, okay, well, there's something there
I
as to
love that.
why she's not wanting to kiss at all. I mean, those that's supposed to be cute. It's not even anything. It's just like, oh, it's like they're hecklers or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know because it is the first few hours. I want to give grace, but yeah, I think she started to think of him in terms of checking the boxes that she was looking
mhm,
for. So I thought that was good that she had moved on from nah, he younger than me. Oh, he
mhm.
will. I like that she had moved on from that. Was like, oh, he's educated. He likes this and he does this or whatever. So I like that at least she's getting her head involved in it a little bit and not just taking and running with whatever ick she felt at the beginning, which was, in my opinion, unnecessary. But yeah,
Mhm.
I loved this is something you mentioned when he said, okay, I think there's a deeper reason to this, but I'll let time tell. And I was like, well, just ask her. But I'm glad that he's starting to catch on or he started to catch on,
Mhm.
but not in a way where he's like, oh, she being standoffish, so I'm gonna cancel her, but in a way that's like, okay, I think there's something there and I'm curious about it. And so at least he's being more perceptive
Yeah.
about, her and her mood. And I hope that I put this down, but I was saying I hope that she just plainly tells him later on. But on the after show, he said one of her friends told him.
Yeah, because wasn't it her friends who kept clinking the glasses and she was like, oh, ignore them, ignore them. It wasn't his
I
friends, right? Her
don't
family.
think so.
Yeah, I think it was coming from her side, which I think would make it even more obvious that there's
Hmm.
something there if it's
Yeah.
your friends who know you.
Hmm.
And which I also didn't understand because they all looked at each other when she walked down the aisle and
Hmm.
they knew the unspoken, I guess, thing was going to be if I let him kiss me on the cheek, then I'm not really feeling it. So if y'all know that, why are y'all keep trying to push this girl?
Well, the bridesmaids knew, but maybe not everybody.
Maybe not everybody. Oh.
Yeah. But I did think it was interesting when they were each talking to their own friends, like when she was talking to her friends and she's like, "Oh, I think one of her cousins was like, what do you think? Because when you came down, I was like, oh, cousin's not interested." So I love
Mhm.
that whole girl talk thing, probably because that's something that I can relate to. And I loved when his friends were like, don't get lost in the friend zone. So it seems like this is something that everybody has picked up on. Like this is a
Mhm.
huge possibility in just a few hours, which is really interesting. But I love that that was the advice his friends were like, be mindful of this because yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it was obvious from when she walked down the aisle and what their energy was like at the altar. So, yeah, it's only been a couple hours, but that combined with the reception, I will say, as the reception moved on, it seemed like they were dancing, having a good time. The vibe was right. So, I don't know. I can hope that it's more than just partying, having a good time, and the drinks.
She
But
was
I
so
don't.
prissy with her dancing. she
I know
she
her.
was literally like
Yeah.
so I thought that was funny. He did the most with that garter dance though. I was like, oh my gosh. You know how I feel about garter dance. And we have a whole episode on like wedding trends and wedding things that we like and dislike. And that was a huge dislike for me. So I thought that was very interesting. But her mom seemed to love it. Her mom was cracking up in the back.
I know. But also there was something else I was gonna bring up. Um, it wasn't about the mom. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Was it about the mom? I can't remember. It was something else. You said the garter, the mom.
Her dancing, the friends
Mm,
grilling. Oh, I didn't talk about the friends grilling
oh
him.
yeah, we didn't talk about the friends grilling each other, but we could talk about that and maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah, so I just put that her friends grilling him was very funny. But they were pretty much like, okay, we'll see because you can say all this now, but we don't know you and all of that stuff. So I thought they were being a little extra, but I get it, and I think he handled it well. Shaq seems cool.
Yeah, and I think because of his line of work and academia, I mean, he's well spoken, can articulate himself. So when they were like, "Oh, he sounds like you could be a preacher or a politician," it's like
Yeah,
he didn't sound overly curated. I think that he seemed like is how he had been talking the entire few
yeah,
episodes so far. But of course, they don't know that.
yeah.
So yeah, they were. What did she say that we're gonna grill him like a pair of baby back ribs or something?
Something like that.
I don't know if it
Right,
was the
right.
sister or the cousin, but I wrote that down. It was
Okay.
funny. Oh, one thing I was gonna say about the girl talk, she brought up that she was expecting that he was supposed to ask her. And I told you last week, I was like, see, this is what she's gonna say, that she would have been open to kissing him had he asked.
She didn't say she would have been
Okay, girl.
open. She said there would have been a higher chance. So
Oh, okay. Higher chance, open. Either
right.
way, she wasn't gonna kiss him. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm,
So I guess
mhm.
now we move on to the couples that actually got married last
One
night.
last thing I
Hmm.
did write down that she did acknowledge that she said that she had been superficial before.
Hmm.
So I that gave me a little bit of hope in that she is self-aware. So no one's perfect, but I could appreciate that she called herself out for that. And
Hmm.
so hopefully going forward, being that she's deciding to stay in this process, I don't want to hear any more about this man's bald head and about him being younger than you. Let it go.
We'll see if she does. Oh, Jasmine and Aerys.
Okay.
So, okay. How do you feel about this cousin? Because I do understand her concern. She clearly knows he's not ready. She knows him better than we do. But I just thought it was maybe not as tasteful that she was doing this right before he walked down. I was like, not her bringing the negative vibes. Like, we're already here, you know? So why are you bringing negative vibes? I agree with her, but right before he walked down the aisle, I just thought it was unnecessary. Like, you've said everything you needed to say by this point. You have his number, y'all have talked. There's no need to be doing this right now.
Yeah, and what did he say? Dang, you got me fighting for my marriage already.
Already?
And I felt the same way, even though I feel like she had valid points.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was her name? Felita? I feel like
Um,
her
Fallon,
Fallon. Oh, okay.
not Falia.
I don't know where I wrote down her name was Felita. Anyways, I don't know. I feel like her energy was just a bit too hard. Like I understand the disappointment. I understand that you're not here for this process, but I feel if you show up for the wedding, that you should somewhat reserve some of your thoughts and feelings because clearly he hasn't taken into account what you said to the magnitude of him backing out.
Yeah.
So the day of the wedding, I just don't think is the day and time to come that hard. I feel like
Yeah.
she came at Jasmine hard a bit.
Mhm.
The whole energy was just kind of stank, if you ask me.
I agree with that. And Shaq said that too on the after show. He's like, if you weren't for it, then just don't come on the actual wedding day. Like that's okay too. So I get that. But
Yeah.
so Eris, I thought looked really satisfied with how Jasmine looked, like walking down the aisle. But two things. The first thing he said was, "Oh, you tall,"
No,
which was
the first thing he
interesting.
did was clapped.
He clapped, yeah. So that showed his satisfaction. Even before she like when she was walking down, he looked happy. Like he was
Mhm.
saying, if they gave me something other than what I asked for, then I would be upset. So it seemed like she fit the description that he had in his mind of what he asked for. And then he was like, "Oh, you tall." So like she said, they're probably the same height.
Mhm.
And then the awkward thing for me was their eye contact was non-existent.
No.
it was insane. It was awkward for me. I can't imagine what it was like for the people who were in the room with
He
them.
would look down, she would look at him, he would look to the left, then she would look at the crowd. Like it was all over the place.
It was.
Very strange. I kept wondering, why is he looking down?
Hmm.
Maybe it was the nerves. I
Yeah.
don't know. That was
Twitter had a
weird.
whole bunch of speculations. Yeah,
Hmm.
but
Oh, we have to talk about that later.
yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I thought it was very interesting when his family started out with, well, he's not that great of a communicator, because for me, that would really alarm me. It would be like red flag, like at 39 to not have good or decent even communication, so much so that you're marrying somebody at first sight and that's the thing that your family members say. I would have been alarmed. I am alarmed.
So I wonder who wrote that because I noticed the camera panned to Fallon. So I don't know if she wrote it, but I feel like they were low key kind of dragging him with
Hmm.
this whole like description of him. I don't know. That was straight. That's the first thing you say.
Yeah, I don't remember what else they said, but that one stood out to me because
And there was a better way for them to have said it. Like sometimes he can struggle with expressing himself. I don't know, but still, try to love him through it. Maybe throw it in later, find different words. I don't know, but that's the first thing. He's a terrible communicator,
right,
but
awful, not good at all. 0 out of 10. Like, dang.
he even looks like, dang, y'all gonna do me like that?
Okay. And then like people in the audience laughed, and I was like, what is funny? That is not something to be laughed at all. Um, so she said her vows, which I guess were great. And then he said, man, that's like Duncan after Vince Carter. So I thought that was really funny because I don't know if you like know who Vince Carter is, but anyway, that was funny to people who used to watch basketball. I don't even watch anymore, but yeah, I thought that was funny. I love how positive she was about his height, because she's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're probably around the same height if I don't have my heels on. And
Mm-hmm.
I know people in my own personal life who that would have been like Kirsten and the bald head for. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that she didn't harp on it. She was very like open to it and just like, I think he's cute. I think all these positive things about him. So yeah, I appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like the energy did lighten a bit once they kissed. And I was like, okay, like I could kind of see this. But
Mm-hmm.
initially, I was just like, I don't know about this when they were at the altar.
Maybe it lightened briefly, but then it to me it took a huge turn. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Let us know in the comments. But especially after he heard about those dogs, my man was out. He's like, I like my own space. I'm an only child. When she said she had 4 dogs, that was a lot. And that is a lot. And I think maybe that's something the experts would have considered, should have considered. And I wonder how it's going to play out over the season. Like, is she trying to move all those dogs to the apartment? Can she find a different space to host the dogs? Like, I want to know how, I want to know what she plans to do with these dogs during this 8-week period, because no, because that, if she didn't plan for that, I would be like, girl, what are you doing? You can't expect somebody to want 4 whole dogs. That's a whole family, like he said. And then an extra 9 that you're breeding. As someone who doesn't want to live with pets ever, I was like, oh heck no, there is no way. Why are you laughing?
I'm just almost in tears listening to you talk about these dogs because
I'm the voice of Aerys. I feel like that's all the things he wanted to say, but he just sat there. See, there he go, not being a good communicator.
I mean, I feel like he handled it well for it to be their
Hmm.
wedding day because I mean, what is she gonna do? How deep into that do you really need to go on
Hmm.
your wedding day? I will say though, she's mentioned something about how after every breakup or whatever, how she would like get a new dog
Whenever
and
she has baby fever. Hmm.
baby fever or something. So I don't know. I want to hear more about like what her long-term plan is beyond the 8 weeks with how these dogs are going to fit into
Yeah.
their lifestyle because she said she's a breeder as well. So that's a part of her job. And so it kind of sounds crazy for us. But part of the breeding process is you breed them and keep them in your home or a kennel or something. I don't know. But if
Yeah.
that's a part of her job, it impacts her lifestyle, the person she's with. What is the long-term plan?
Yeah. I guess I want her to come at this the same way that I said Nicole is with Chris being Mr. Nice Guy, like where she's considering him, like she understands she's anticipating some type of a future and trying to make adjustments based on what she can see, what she can foresee. And I just don't think that Jasmine took the care that needed to be taken with this. Or okay, I don't think it's fair to her to say she didn't take the care because she was just living her life, right? But I hope that she is mindful of it moving forward and how it could affect another person.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
I mean, somebody has to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Breed dogs. I also in an apartment. I don't know. I have questions.
Yeah, she definitely can't bring them in the apartment. So I'm curious to see what her
No, I'm
home looks
saying where
like.
she lives now.
Oh, does
Like,
she live in an apartment though?
I don't know.
That's why, yeah, I'm curious to see what her living condition is right now. But she kept making jokes about it, or she kept laughing, but he was dead serious. Like when she was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm breeding. What was it? 9 dogs."
Nine.
And he was like, 13 dogs. He did that math real quick. He was like, 13 dogs, no smile on his face. And she's like, I'm like, girl, he ain't
I,
laughing. He ain't
I'm
playing.
hoping that that's because yes, she's bred them, and they just have to get to the point where the owners have to come pick them up.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I'm hoping that she already has the owners picked out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved when they prayed over the food. You know, she's like, "Oh, do you want to pray?" And he prayed. I said, "Aerys, you better pray." Um, but she wanted someone who was healthy and fit, and he is. Now he's the one who doesn't eat anything, right?
He
He's the one who just starves. No, just
Yeah,
kidding.
it sounds like he's maybe vegan or vegetarian or something. I
Yeah, because he has a strict diet, and she's like, "Okay, you don't mind if I do, right?" Which
don't know. Hmm.
I'm glad that he's okay with that. He's not like a Mitch where I have this extreme, lifestyle, and I expect you to have it too. So I thought that was cool.
Hmm.
Okay, so the conversation with her sisters, I was like, how is Eris asking if she's a good communicator when we've already found out that you're not? Maybe he's trying to see if she's going to compensate for him not being like, for when he
Yeah.
lacks. But I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, even the way the sisters approached the questioning, their energy was different, I felt, than the others, where they're like, okay, well, what do you need to know? And they weren't like coming at him extra hard. So I did think it was interesting when I think it was her sister was like, oh, she does sometimes need someone to keep her in check.
I would never
Hmm.
say that to my sister's man. He gonna have to find that
Like,
out himself because that I just what does in check mean, especially with the
yeah.
age difference, like him being 40 pretty much and her being 32. I just don't want it to turn into like a parent type thing.
I'm like, okay, sis, tell us more. Why is that?
I don't think she meant any harm, but I just wish like these families knew the gravity of the things that they were saying, because you don't want a man going into it thinking, oh, maybe that's something I got to keep her in check about. Like
Hmm.
you want him going in knowing what his wife wants him to do. Because if I don't want you to keep me in check, you better not even try. Like you better not even try. But I thought it was interesting when they talked about her communication style because she's non-confrontational and so she will bite her tongue just so they keep the peace. And I love
Hmm.
that he's like, oh well, that could turn bad as well. So I hope it's something that he looks out for if
Hmm.
this marriage is something that he is invested in. I hope it's something
Yeah.
that he watches out for and that he at least makes her feel comfortable enough to say what is wrong.
Yeah. And I hope she'll be honest about what she feels is going to work for her, what she likes, what she doesn't like.
Yeah.
Because one thing, I don't know, at the altar, I wasn't getting the vibe as much that she was as into him.
Hmm.
And then later on, she was like, "Yeah, my man, fine, my man." So I don't know.
The altar, I don't know what was going on there. That was just
I was just like, "Is she into him?" I don't know. The way she was kind of looking off to the side. But then later she was like, "Yeah, my man, fine, my
yeah,
man," and so I'm like, "Okay, is she?" I don't know.
yeah. So
Mm.
we obviously know that Eris's cousin was there to judge because when they had to sit down with Eris's mom and her, uh, she was pretty much like, well, I'm not really impressed because she's a pageant girl. So, of course, she would have the right answers. And I'm like, dang, this girl cannot win. But you know who I really loved? And this is more of like an underrated character, but his mom, like
Mm-hmm.
seeing her being so like accepting and welcoming to her, like whenever she gave an answer, the mom would smile and be like, oh, that's wonderful. You need at least somebody who, like, if the cousin's going to be coming like that, you need someone to balance that out. And I think his mom, just in that small interaction,
Mm-hmm.
I thought was very, very needed for Jasmine.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
did she start it off? Well, she basically said, like, I feel like this process is crazy. But
Mhm.
it wasn't even so much what she was saying, it was the energy too.
Yeah.
So I wish she would have picked one. I mean, say what you have to say, but lighten the energy of it, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
also, it's not Jasmine's fault that your cousin signed up for this. So watch how you're coming at her. She's just as nervous. This is her wedding day. So watch your energy. At the very
Yeah.
least, acknowledge that this is a young girl who is, entering a really unpredictable experiment, and at least show kindness. I understand you're not here for this. I understand you want to get to know her. You want to ask the right questions for your cousin, but kindness is okay too. Like you can still get all the answers you need and be nice to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree, especially when it's your cousin who claims to be reformed. If anything, this
And
girl
her
she might
cousin's a
should be.
grown man. Like I get it because he's an only child, so maybe they grew up as like almost siblings. So I was trying to think of it from the perspective of if one of my siblings did something like this, I might I might have some things to say to my sibling, but I don't think that I would treat the other person any kind of way. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, I do have one more thing that I want to talk about when it
Okay.
comes to Jasmine and Aerys. So a part of me feels like Aerys isn't as attracted to Jasmine. Yeah. Okay. So
Do tell.
at the end, when his friends were like, "Oh, what about tonight?" Because production makes all their friends ask, "What about tonight?" Like in your ideal world, if something went down tonight, what would that be? And Eris's response was, "Get on your knees." When I tell you, I think that is the most distasteful thing I don't want to say I have ever heard on Married at First Sight because I'm sure there were people in the past, but I just thought that was a trash thing to say. I thought it was disrespectful. I thought it was unnecessary. Not to say that he can't say what he wants, but the fact that that would be the thing that you would say as opposed to any other respectful answer, or as opposed to, oh, I would at least like to be intimate with her in a way that doesn't just require her giving,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, there was something off about that to me that just said, okay, well, maybe he's not valuing her at a
Mm-hmm.
place yet where he feels like he needs to be giving. It's almost like he positioned himself as someone who should be receiving from her and not giving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how exactly to articulate it, but it just to me communicated some type of like power imbalance that suggested, he just doesn't know how to treat women or talk about women in a
Mm.
respectful way, or he doesn't see her on his level yet. So that's the perfect night for him and her.
Yeah, as well as I don't know, you're on national television, so say this process works out really well, your spouse's family, your family,
Mhm.
the whole world people over in Brazil gonna be watching
Right.
the replay of this, and this is what you choose to say.
And I
I
understand he
think
was
it
talking to
speaks.
his boys, but still.
Yeah, boys with the cameras around for national television.
Also, I don't know. I feel like that's the way teenagers talk to their boys, but not 40-year-old men. But maybe, I don't know if I'm being too judgmental. Hopefully, the people in the comments will let us know. But the fact that that was the thing that he said, it rubbed me really, really, really wrong, as y'all can
I
see.
I think also too, compared to how everyone else that we've
Answered it.
seen has approached the first night has been like, oh, if I get lucky, great. Or oh, even if they
Yeah,
want to, they're like, yeah, I'd love to. But they don't say it in a derogatory way. That's how it kind of felt a
it
bit.
felt right. Yeah, to me and
Yeah.
to you. So we'll see what the
And
comments say.
yeah, y'all let us know. Um
That's all I have for them.
mm,
You have anything else? All right, so we'll end with Dominique and McKinley. I, besides the fact that this match is never going to work ever on any planet, uh, I was kind of turned off by their moms. I almost feel like Dominique's mom signed her up for this so she could be on TV. Like, I think this is it's very much about her. And when she was like, well, I want someone who fits into my family. And it's like, girl, this is not about you. And I maybe it's because I've seen this in real life, but those types of moms who think this is about them and they're just overly involved.
hmm
But I just didn't like the energy of her. I also didn't like McKinley's mom, but we'll get to her in a second.
Yeah, it felt a bit overbearing.
Hmm.
Even her signing her up for this process. Now, granted, Dominique is an adult, so she can agree to be
Yeah,
on this process or not. But even the whole talk about grandkids, and I'm just like, wow, this young girl is only 25 years old. She's getting married at first sight, and you
yeah,
expect a baby within a year?
yeah,
What? But then it was kind of juxtaposed to later on all these concerns that they have and
yeah.
how this person might be. So I don't know. It's just strange, the whole thing. Did anything about Dominique give you old soul this episode?
No, but you know what happened? I think it was you who said it last week, where you were like, well, based on the friends that she's hanging out with, maybe she is more mature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every time her friends spoke, I was like, maybe she's an old soul to them because it was just one friend. I wish I would have written down what she said, but she said something that just had me like, girl, are you 13? Come on, relax. But no, nothing about Dominique gave me old soul. She just seemed maybe a little bit more quiet than her friends. And then they seemed quite immature. I mean,
Yeah.
they're young, so whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing bad against them.
Yeah. What do they say? Dom has always been a giver and mature. So I think
Hmm.
that's another thing where if you're slightly more mature than the people your own age, then
Yeah,
maybe that's where people get the perception of you having an old soul.
yeah,
Um, what I thought was interesting is that McKinley said he was very vague on the description, but the way he described it, it seemed like he knows what he wants. So I was just like,
yes,
why would you be so vague? And like, this could be like from here to there in terms
uh-huh.
of what they offer you if you know what you want. So that
Yeah,
was concerning for me. You
yeah.
lied, basically.
Well, we'll see. There's something where Pastor Cal is calling them out in the future, and I just can't wait to get to that episode because it seems like she
Mm,
also might have wanted something different than what he actually is. So I can't
mm,
wait to see with these two. But I think we've all recognized since the beginning that they were a train wreck. Before they were even in the same room, we were like, it's giving train wreck. Everybody in our comments. So they're not meant to be.
mm,
But I put that Dominique's boots. That's what Alyssa from 2 seasons ago was trying to pull off because like her boots
mm,
were actually cute. Like I don't care for the whole boots with the fancy dress, but at least they were dolled up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's something that Alyssa wish she would have done. Okay. McKinley's mom. She said, I'm here, but I'm not here for it. Like she was very much like, my body is here, my spirit is not. And I don't know what
Yeah.
you're doing, but not I don't want any parts of it, but kind of.
Yeah. I mean, she wants what any other parent wants, for you to go through a more traditional dating process, not an arranged marriage.
Hmm. Well, any other American maybe parent. Yeah.
Right. Right.
but but yes, or different cultures that don't that's hard to, yeah, arrange marriages. Okay, so Dominique's mom signed her up for this, but she seemed very like judgmental. Like she had the audacity to say, even during the ceremony, certain things that she did. I was like, "Are you judging, ma'am, who signed up her 25 year old daughter to get married just so you could be on the show?" And I bet we'll see
Hmm.
so many appearances from her. She's gonna be like Sriracha, noise, noise sister showing up on the show all the time. Like that's the vibe I get. And his mom, McKinley's mom, also seems very overbearing. I don't
Hmm.
know if we want to get to this part just yet because it was at the reception.
Yeah, I want to talk about this ceremony. The
Okay.
energy so awkward. She held her flowers the whole
The
time.
whole
They were
time,
standing about 10 feet apart.
even when they kiss, like when they kissed, his hands were down, her hands were holding her thing, and he just leaned like the top of his body over to kiss her.
Yeah, and then one other thing that he mentioned more than once or twice in this episode was about boobs. Okay, dude, we know you like boobs. Great. But anyways, um so yeah, the energy in the ceremony was really awkward, really off. I will say they did take really nice pictures. It seemed like they warmed up. The
Yeah.
pictures looked really natural.
Their
Um
colors looked good. So I don't, they obviously didn't know what colors, but their bridal party, like his
mm,
people had on the navy blue and her people had on like the light blue
mhm.
or something. And so that kind of went well together. I liked his suits. I think his
Yeah.
suit looked really good. So yeah, the colors came together for them.
Yeah. But yeah, that ceremony was excruciating
Yeah.
to get through. Oh my gosh, make it end.
So when they sat down to talk to each other, he clearly didn't love her age because
And they were still sitting super far apart.
you know,
Like I understood her dress, like, because it was tight and you kind of
yeah,
have to go down at an angle. So I understand that. But he was like way far off. I'm like, are they gonna be in the same camera angle?
and he was leaned back a little bit
And
too.
he was leaned on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as soon as she said her age, he was like, so
Yeah.
that I guess that comes with him being very vague, which I don't understand why. It reminded me of Deanna some seasons ago because she was like, when she
Mm-hmm.
came in, she was very specific. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. And, I know not everybody gets what they ask for in this show because they're trying to create some drama. But I don't understand why anybody would go and not being as specific as possible, especially at 34, 35. Like, you know better.
You know what I think? I think when you're more obsessed with getting picked for the
Boobs.
process,
Oh,
you're more obsessed with getting picked versus maybe the success of the process, and you just maybe want to make yourself the more optimal candidate to seem like, oh, I'd be open to anything.
yeah.
It's like, okay.
I'm easygoing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
he said he somewhat moved to Nashville for love. I guess it wasn't working or clicking where he was.
Mm,
So he seemed to be, I don't want to say desperate, but really yearning for this opportunity,
yeah.
which we still have questions about, okay, why you don't have a short-term lease there. I mean, oh, it's fine, whatever.
And I was wondering because he said that and then she didn't like harp on it. And it wasn't anything that came up in her confessional. So I'm like, is she too young to care that he lives with his friend's family? Like, because she was just like, oh, you live with people? Cool. Maybe because she lives with people, I'm not sure, but he's 34. So I thought maybe she's just a little too young minded to see that as a red flag.
And even if she did, I mean, it's their wedding day, so you may acknowledge a red flag in your head, but are you gonna dig deep on that when you're having your first few conversations.
No, but you would say it in the confessional, I think.
Mm.
I think everybody else is anything. Like Nicole being like, well, I think he's too nice. That was in the confessional. And I think maybe she said it to her friends too. But it was just like, and even if you don't harp on it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe one follow-up question, like, oh, how long have you been doing that? Or, oh, okay, do you have plans, to leave there at some point, like after the process or anything. I would have taken anything. But he was just like, oh yeah, I actually moved down a few months ago and I live with my friend's family. Oh, okay, cool. How do you like your cornflakes? Like it was just she just acted like it didn't happen. I'm like, dang, like I would have asked something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he did stay on the age thing for a bit.
Yes, he did. He did. And she's like, oh yeah, I asked for somebody older, which, okay.
Mm.
But she said she asked for someone older because she wants emotional maturity. And I don't know this man, but I guess we'll see if he brings that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not too sure. She said something about like, oh, they have a high success rate. I think she was referring to arranged marriages,
Mm-hmm.
which, if I'm not mistaken, which I probably am, I think they have about the same success rate as marriages that aren't previously arranged. So I could see where she was going with that. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I know she ain't talking about married at first sight having a high success rate because
Girl,
they
she
just
don't
don't.
know because she didn't sign herself up for this process. Who did she even watch the show before? I don't know.
She probably just looked up arranged marriages and saw that they have a decent success rate.
Yeah.
But okay, so I do want to talk about McKinley's mom because it was giving all lives matter energy. It was giving where were you on January 6th energy. And you felt it even more because of the types of things that Dominique was saying to her. Like, I'm a mixed woman, and no matter what family I end up in, I just want to make sure that the kinds of causes that I care about, they also care about because those are causes that could affect me. And so, no matter where I go, she specifically said, I want to be accepted for who I am. After this, like, it wasn't a long paragraph, but after she said enough about social justice and injustice, without naming them specifically, but I think we all knew
Mm-hmm.
what she was talking about when she raised concern about certain causes. So after she says that and says, I just want to be accepted for who I am, his mom goes, yeah, and if you're lovely, but being married is hard. It's just so hard. And I was like, you're not off the hook, Miss Lady, because why you ain't talking about the injustices she had talked about? Like, why aren't you, addressing what it was that she was saying? She's not asking you if she's lovely. We can tell that she seems to be a lovely girl, but she wants to be accepted as someone who's half black, and is that something you can accept?
Yeah, that whole scene, even her Dominique's mom with him,
Hmm.
that whole thing was just so awkward
Hmm.
in that I don't know. I understood why they brought it up, but I also understand that if there are any feelings about her being mixed race or
Hmm.
whatever, because you better believe that at the beginning of the ceremony, they were looking to see who was showing up on the other side.
Yeah,
And it was a whole lot of black people.
there were.
So, um, yeah, if they did have some feelings of disappointment or whatever they thought it was going to be, because my guess is if the mom is kind of just finding out about this process, she probably also doesn't know how vague he was about who they were going to pair him with
Yeah.
either. But either way, I wouldn't even expect that these people would be truthful about any type of disappointment, about how they feel, about the
She didn't
race
have
of,
to say anything.
yeah, like the energy said it all. I wouldn't expect
Mhm.
them to be honest about it. Um, People's actions will show. And
I
the
think,
fact that the way that she just kind of glossed over it,
yeah,
unless it was edited to look that
no,
way.
it happened too fast to be
um
edited, I feel like.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole thing was just off. And they seem to be taken aback that she is who she is,
Hmm.
and that she wasn't what they were expecting her to look like. She's beautiful,
Oh yeah. And her makeup
but
was really nice. She looked
I
great.
don't think that they were expecting a mixed race or biracial woman.
And even if he's okay with it, because that's the thing, he might be okay with it. We don't know. And so even his mom, I mean, her mom having the conversation with him about, is that something you're cool with? Because we're black, like we are 100% black. Um, Even if he's okay with it, if his family isn't, then that's setting her up with an environment that will not be supportive of her, not be supportive of the things that concern her rightfully. And so, yeah, I mean,
I,
this is a train wreck anyway. I don't think they're going to last 2 seconds, and I'm glad.
I'll add to, the mom, her mom showing all of this concern now. I'm sorry, sis. These are things you should have been thinking about before you would sign your daughter up, who is biracial, for this type of process, because something heavy like that, in terms of the family you're marrying into, you should be vetting that up front. I don't know if you reserve that to the experts to get that right, because they probably don't even know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand the concern, but I wouldn't expect anything truthful from these people.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
oh, one other thing, the
yeah.
mom's husband. Did you catch his facial expression? The
Wait,
way
when?
it was like during the ceremony, the mom's husband, I think it was whoever was sitting next to her. I think it was her husband.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he wasn't here for it either. I didn't see not one smile. He was just like deadpan the whole time.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say except that I think even if this were to work, their moms would destroy it. I don't think Dominique needs to be in it. Like she's doing what she needs to do at this age, and I really hope that something finds her in a more unstructured, less forced way. Yeah.
Mm.
So we need to do our predictions. So first couple, Gina and Clint, do you think they're gonna say yes on decision day?
Okay, predictions is, are they going to say yes or on decision day, or are they going to last?
Are they gonna say yes on decision day?
Oh, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. You don't think
Hmm.
either one of them is gonna say yes?
I think Clint will say yes. I think Gina will say no.
Okay. I think they're both gonna say no. All
Okay.
right. Cool. So that's Clint and Gina. That was kind of easy. Next, Nicole and Chris.
Yes and yes.
I think so too. They better say it. They
Hmm.
better say yes. We
They
invested.
better say yes and act right.
Yes, they better be good to each other. Okay. So next, Kirsten and Shaq.
I see Shaq saying yes,
Hmm.
and I see Kirsten saying yes potentially. Yeah,
Okay. So
but I don't think that they're gonna last. But I see them both saying yes.
based off of Shaq's energy on the after show, this could just be
Um,
because he's a cool guy, but I want to say that they'll say yes.
mm,
But I came into this season not even wanting to be optimistic at all. So actually, I'm gonna put them both down as a yes. And I think,
hmm.
depending how this season goes, they could possibly last. But that's determined by them. So I'm gonna say yes for both of them, and we'll see.
Yeah, I could see them both saying yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, Jasmine and Aerys.
If she get rid of some of these dogs.
I know.
I see two yeses.
Really?
Hmm. Now, yeah, it's hard because it's like, okay, are they gonna last?
No,
That's
I don't want to judge you, girl. That stick beside your
because
answer.
so many of them say yes, even when it's a train wreck. Like that's why it's hard to say, but I'm gonna give a yes and a yes.
Okay. I'm
Um,
gonna say two no's.
mm,
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I
you
don't see
don't
it
see them
working
saying,
out.
yeah.
I
See, I
don't.
always feel like I don't see it working out, but they could still end up saying yes, like Alexis and Justin.
Yeah, I'm gonna say these two are a no.
No, okay.
Okay. And then last is
Mm.
Dominique and Matt.
Oh, those are two no's.
I don't even think they're going to make it to decision day. When they showed the decision day previews, I didn't see them getting out the cars or
Mm,
walking or sitting with the expert. So I don't think they'll even be. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
it's a no for me, dog. Nope.
So I only have two yeses then. Well, three,
You have
I
three,
guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I
But
have two.
that's the difference between do I think they're gonna last
Mhm.
past decision day because we were what 0 for 5 last year and the year
Yeah,
before. Oh wait, Katina and Elijah are back together.
but
So
oh yeah,
I
okay,
checked yesterday. They're back together.
yeah,
So
they are. They were like it was a week later, and they took that post down that they were separating, and they went on
mm-hmm.
vacation and came back, and it was like, okay, y'all, we'll
Psych.
right. But I don't know to go as far as putting a statement out. I thought it was interesting. Like y'all couldn't agree to the vacation before y'all put the statement out. Like, dang.
Well, that or like finalize the divorce. Don't say
Yeah.
anything in the separation period. But who am I to tell people what to
Right.
do? Yeah.
Okay. So you think 3 out of 5 will say yes on decision day, and only one will survive after decision day.
I only see Nicole and Chris
Mhm.
surviving past decision day. The only reason why I feel Shaq and
Kirsten.
Kirsten will say yes and then it'll fizzle is because I think for him he really, really wants it to work. I think he's already pretty smitten with her.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how honest she's gonna be about the attraction thing.
Mhm.
Um, but I could see her saying yes under the facts of him checking the boxes and her
Okay.
trying to be logical and like, oh, like he is a good catch, you know? I
Okay.
maybe this may not work for me to say no. Kind of like Jasmina said yes when we all knew like girl, you weren't feeling him.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, that's our review for this week, guys. Please let us know your predictions in the comments. Let us know where you agree or disagree with us. You can comment as many times as you like. But
yeah.
yeah, let us know if we're thinking about things and these people right. And of course, please subscribe to our channel. Please make sure you check out our new podcast episode, which I'll go ahead and include here at the end of the video. And we'll see you guys next week for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.